Hello everyone and welcome to yet another Chair League game tonight between NORF and S.O.L. here on Dragonshire. I want to give a quick shout out to NORF considering they are officially the first team that I have cast more than once in Chair League unless I'm stupid and am forgetting someone else. But assuming that's not the case, thank you to NORF for playing games and letting me cast them. So we're getting right into the phase here, first ban phase on Dragonshire. I've mentioned this I think 2 or 3 times by now. Dragonshire, not my favorite map to play on anyway. Just not a huge fan of the usually more rotation-based style instead of just fighting over a really powerful objective. It's more about rotating, trying to make sure that you can get a pick so that it's easier to channel both of the altars as well as the middle shrine. But that's just my personal opinion. There can still be some good games come out of it, and I think we'll have one tonight. Yet again, the terror of the Nexus, Murky, has been banned from the very beginning. Since his rework, he has been just destroying everyone's hopes and dreams on the enemy team, taking Merc camps like it doesn't even matter, dying but not actually caring, and running around with 6,000 HP post 20. So the Murky ban is immediately just gone, not going to deal with it. Goodbye, Murky. Looks like the Dehaka ban is going to come out from S.O.L. Dehaka, very smart ban on this map. The global presence and his ability to jump between the shrines as well as the dragon makes him very hard to deal with. Hard to tell when exactly you'll actually be able to go for a shrine, because if you leave even one unprotected, Dehaka can just jump to it and steal it away while you're trying to get the dragon, and is also very strong in the solo top lane, so not at all surprised to see a Dehaka ban. Now, what are they going to pick for their very first pick here? So, as I already mentioned, globals are very popular, but I wouldn't expect Falstad or Brightwing to be picked up this early. They decide to go for Malfurion. I've mentioned this in prior games that I've been casting, and it's also just something to observe a lot in the competitive scene, is that even with the release of Lucio, Malfurion is still the most popular support. He's has basically a low skill floor and a high skill ceiling. It's not difficult to pull him off if all you're trying to do is get heals, but if you want to try to make plays with Twilight Dream or landing roots for follow-up CC, Malfurion is your man. So we see Falstad and ETC both come out for S.O.L, so they're already very heavily diving into the globals, if you catch that pun there. If they decide to do that with ETC, go stage dive, have Falstad as well, trying to focus on global control and using that to help get shrines. So ETC, probably the most popular tank right now, gets picked up by them. It also might be a pick away from NORF, seeing as how ETC pairs incredibly well with Malfurion, thanks in large part due to the power slide combo into the Malf roots, which can then be followed up by face melt. It's just a lot of CC, a lot of displacement, hard to deal with, even if you have a good support with cleanse. So the ETC I like here, it both A, helps them solidify their global composition that they appear to be going for, and B, gives them, makes it so that the NORF can't take it away from them. So the second pick phase here for NORF, they decide to pick Vala and Tassadar. So it's interesting to see both of these picks come out right now. It looks like they really wanted to do this. They really wanted to have the Vala Tassadar. Malfurion kind of, most Vala comps really do want the second support. Just Vala does have a lot of damage, but can be difficult to keep alive, especially against dive-heavy teams. So they're already committing really early to the Vala composition, which is perfectly fine, trying to ensure that they get the Vala, because it could still be taken away by S.O.L. Same with the Tassadar if they really wanted it. The only real caveat here is that since they haven't picked their tank and Dehaka has already been banned, it does give another opportunity for S.O.L. here to A, ban a tank, and B, since they get to pick first, pick another one. So they could put some degree of a tank choke onto NORF here if they so wanted to. But if this is the strategy that NORF has decided they want to go with, then you can't blame them for locking it down as soon as they can. And it is kind of wise to pick Vala and Tassadar in the same rotation, just so that you kind of don't tip your hand too early. If they'd picked Tassadar, then it would have been very easy to ban Vala. If they'd only picked Vala, they might have been thinking Tassadar. And seeing as how they banned the Zarya, they do kind of want to limit the shield composition. Protect the Vala has been really popular in the competitive scene as of late. Zarya usually being the choice since Tassadar is banned out. But since they did pick Tassadar in the earlier phase, they managed to get that instead. We'll see how it works out for them. They still obviously need some frontline, that is, that NORF does. But there's still plenty of options. Johanna is available, Muradin. You could go something kind of crazy like a Nubarak. There's lots of options here. It looks like that NORF is currently thinking of the Brightwing ban. This makes a lot of sense, especially considering that there's already so many globals on the enemy team, and they already have 2 supports, so there's no way they could pick up a Brightwing here. So they're saying, all right, we're just going to take the Brightwing off the table. That does leave Lucio open. Based on my experience of casting Chair League so far, the Lucio, I think I've only seen one Lucio pick, if I'm recalling correctly, and the team that picked Lucio did not run away with it. But it is an option they could pick up here, and it's my understanding Lucio is an okay pick against Vala, because she is more sustained damage, even though she has burst potential. But they're actually holding the support pick to last, so really kind of waiting to show what they've got. They pick the Jaina and the Varian. The cool thing about this rotation is that the kind of obvious thing is, all right, you've got a Varian, go taunt. Everyone's doing it. It's the most popular one. But Varian can still work well with Jaina even without the taunt. You really only need a couple seconds of initiation, really that stun from Warbringer, to make someone stand still long enough for Jaina to get off a powerful combo. So if you use that in conjunction with, oh goodness, what is that? Colossus Smash Varian, then they could decide to go that option if they want to. I don't expect they'll do something so unorthodox. It really does look like they have kind of a nice, regular, like, team comp here. ETC and Varian for initiation, Jaina and Falstad for damage, Falstad ETC for global presence, whatever support they want. And we see Diablo Thrall. This is the Diablo pick I really like here, mainly because S.O.L has already committed to saving that final pick for support, so it's not like they could pick up Tychus at this point. And although Falstad does have Giant Killer at 13, most of the time that is not the build that is gone. They could decide to go auto-attack Falstad to round out their team if they wanted to, but the Diablo pick here I think is smart considering his obvious counters are kind of off the table. And he is a fairly good way to deal with Jaina, considering the slow doesn't matter as much to him because of the way his charge works, in addition to the spell shield that he can pick up at level 7. So I like the counter pick of Diablo, and I also like that in that rotation they also grabbed Thrall, which opens up Earthquake, APOC combos, which is basically only overshadowed by Void Prison APOC, as far as combinations with APOC are concerned. So I like the Thrall Diablo rotation. It also gives them a strong top laner to deal with the Falstad or whoever it is they send top lane. And it does look like S.O.L picked Lucio. That is what I thought they would go into. They could have gone Kharazim. They could have gone Rhaegar. Both of them have been kind of popular picks in the certain circumstance they're in. But Lucio's out. Why not give him a try? See how he works. And there's no one really, at least in my opinion, on NORF who excels at just bursting someone down. Thrall kind of has burst. Like, Vala can go bursty builds. But they really are looks like more of a sustained damage team with a lot of lockdown with Diablo and Malfurion CC. So I like the Lucio pick here. I think they should be able to make it work out. But regardless, it's going to be up to execution on this one. So let's hop right into the Nexus. Unfortunately, I have to say something real quick. If you will take a look at Misty on Thrall's portrait, and just a moment of shame for just completely missing out on the icon synergy. There's always one. I don't know why there's always one, but you've seen them before. Their whole team's got everything together, but they're just playing their own tune, running with the Nexus Tiger icon instead of the Pleb King. Shame on you. Anyway, we're hopping onto the map soon. Once again, this is Dragonshire, NORF versus S.O.L in Division 3 of Chair League. So this time I'm not going to forget to zoom out so that everyone can see what's happening better. So once again, we have Kicks on Malfurion, Mongoose on Vala, Undead Human on Diablo, Party Boy Corey on Tassadar, and Misty on Thrall for NORF. And for S.O.L, we've got Raiden on Jaina, Phoenix Toss on ETC, Gargolas, I am assuming that's how you pronounce it, on Lucio, Mastodon on Varian, and up here we have Sitten TX on Falstad. So looks like Falstad and Thrall are both already committing to going to the top lane. We may not have a huge brawl in the mid, which doesn't really surprise me. S.O.L, as I've mentioned in previous casts, is a team that has Varian, and Varian is really weak in the early game, especially if you're trying to do some silly 5-man brawl mid lane, so they don't want it. And NORF, although would probably want a little bit more, Diablo looking for maybe an initiation there, decides to back up. They don't really have the damage needed to win a fight this early on, especially against a Lucio, who can very easily disengage with his speed boost or help heal up damage using the Amp It Up. So right now, it looks like they're going to go for kind of the traditional 1-4 on this map. That meaning that they're going to have 2 people brawl it out top, although Falstad is currently mid. I don't know why he decided to come down here. He is jumping up. I guess he was looking for gathering power stacks. He is going to the top lane. And so instead of dividing up like a 2-2 or a 1-3, the teams are just going to rotate back and forth between this mid and this bot lane, trying to clear the lane. Jaina a little slow in the rotation. Diablo looking for the kill, does get the stun into the wall. A lot of damage going down. Tassadar slow, and she does not get away. Lucio tried as he might, just did not have the burst healing to deal with that. Unfortunate rotation there. Really good play from NORF, being able to kind of spot that out and see that Jaina had fallen behind the rest of her team in that rotation. That's one of the ways that having these 4-man rotations you can use to your advantage if you manage to outplay the enemy team. The most obvious one being if you rotate better, you can clear faster, get free siege damage onto the structures. But also, if the enemy team rotates too slowly, Malfurion standing a little far up there, but it may have been a bait. Diablo trying to go in, but it's pushed away by Lucio. ETC taking a lot of damage. Varian's kind of standing there, trying to pressure Diablo, but they just don't really have the means right now to harass them too much, but the same appears to be true of NORF, as they also aren't really getting a kill, although a lot of damage is going on to Varian. He's at about half health right now. Lucio doing his best to heal him, but he gets flipped by Diablo. Tassadar doing his best to slow, but it's 2 supports in Diablo versus a Varian, and even at this level where he's basically just Olaf, they just don't have the damage with this comp. But now Vala has rotated down. Jaina's still soaking the mid lane. It looks like Vala was able to push that out quickly. Let's take a quick peek top. Falstad is really low on health here. He has got to watch out for when Thrall's abilities come off of cooldown. Need to watch out for that. Diablo looking for another initiation. Holds the overpower. It might have been interrupted by the ETC face melt. And they have managed to hold this for now. And they have actually changed from a 4-4 lane to kind of like rotating between a 4-4 and a 1-3. Varian gets overpowered, the root is there, but does not actually make contact until the very end of it, but still has full duration. Tassadar taking a lot of damage, but dimensional shifts away. And although Varian is also low, Lucio is there to help him out and is not going to go down today. A lot of just shrine brawling back and forth here. This is one of the things that you usually see if two teams are either evenly matched or just kind of are playing the strategy well in the early game, is that it's very difficult to get an early Dragon Knight unless you get like 2 or 3 kills. And even then, cooldown, or death timers rather, are so low at this point in the game that even getting 1 kill might not be enough to secure a Dragon Knight. But it does look like they're starting to apply a lot of pressure. NORF is now channeling it. Jaina has been forced out. I might have spoken a little too soon there. They got the good rotation. They had a firm hold on top and bottom. Falstad looking like he's getting bullied out of lane right now by Thrall. He better watch out. Once that chain lightning's up, he's going to get popped. And they were able to channel this Dragon Knight. Early game Dragon Knight's not that important. It's nice to get if you can, but they have so little durability this early on that it's hard to get anything more than a tower or 2 if you're lucky. And meanwhile, we see the other 3 members of NORF currently trying to push down the spot lane, so they realize they have the Dragon Knight, just doing what they can to try to get some pressure. I will mention that I'm a little surprised not to see Tychus get thought about at all. As I mentioned in the game last night, if anybody here saw that one, Tychus is really powerful on Dragonshire, if for no other reason than his ability to help melt that Dragon Knight through the use of his trait and his minigun. So it's interesting to see that he wasn't thought about for either team. I'm sure that S.O.L would have loved to have considered Tychus instead of possibly a Falstad if they had known that the route was going to be Diablo, but since Falstad was the first pick for the global presence, it's not unsurprising to see their team comp. It's not that it's a bad comp. How do you counter something you don't know is coming? Is basically what I'm trying to say here. It's not S.O.L's fault they didn't pick Tychus. It's not NORF's fault they didn't pick Tychus. I'm just surprised no one picked Tychus is all I'm trying to say. So the Dragon Knight does end up going down. Small XP advantage going over to NORF. They've got about half a level lead here. They're currently a talent tier up, but S.O.L has level 7 right around the corner, so that's not going to be much of a problem. It's really not until you reach Heroic and onward that you see talent tier leads being something that you really need to consider when thinking about fights. So we see S.O.L going for their siege camp right now, just trying to even up this EXP a little bit, but at the same time, NORF is going for theirs. We'll likely clear them at about the same time and have them start pushing. Diablo looking for an invade. The siege camp is already capped. Varian stepping a little forward, but decides not to take the fight. And so nothing really goes on. EXP is still about the same. And this is, at this point in time, it's really kind of a calm game. Neither team looks like they really want to try to force a fight, as it's really dangerous to do so this early on, because if you don't initiate properly, you could be in real trouble. And I will mention, in most previous games I've seen in Chair League, with a Varian on them, you expect to see something like this in the early game. It's very hard for Varian to make any impact prior to level 10 and he gets that ultimate. And so I've seen multiple games where it was this small advantage from level 1 to level 10 for a particular team, but then that turned the other way once Varian gets access to his heroic. So we'll see if it's the same this time around, and after Varian gets taunt or whatever it is he decides to goes with, if that'll, well, he saw a bit of a do-si-do there. I guess no one really wants to fight. Blue and red passing right. Whoa, sorry, I'm stuttering a little bit there. Looked like there's a bit of action going on. What was a mini brawl seemed to happen, but neither team really wanted to commit. And that's really what's interesting about these two teams, is that for 2 separate reasons, neither of them really wants to fight in these kind of skirmishes where it's not the full 5 team. S.O.L doesn't want to fight because they don't have Varian level 10 yet, and NORF doesn't want to fight because they really only have 2 sources of damage, being Vala and Thrall. So if you try to pick a fight when all you have is Mouth, Diablo, and Tassadar, you're just not going to get much done. But speaking of Vala, she is down here now. It is a 4v4, Thrall and Falstad in the top lane. Diablo initiating onto ETC, but ETC power sliding out. Vala taking a lot of pressure from Varian, even though he's not level 10, is still managing to do a decent amount of damage. Diablo overpowering Varian, but Lucio pushing him away. ETC doing a good job healing for his team, but taking a lot of damage in the process. Lucio doing his best to heal him up, does finally have Impet up off cooldown, which is a lot of health going on ETC, but nonetheless, they were still pushed off of the point. Diablo overpowering ETC, looked like he wanted to go back in. Vala doing a lot of damage, and they hit level 10. APOC coming out, but does not hit any targets. It does not quite matter, though, for Vala was able to get a kill on ETC, it looked like, after that Rain of Vengeance. And so, something I didn't really notice either, but something that S.O.L really should have taken into consideration when they were trying to hold that point, was that level 10 was just around the corner for NORF. And even though it wasn't as disastrous as it could have been, that is one kill over for NORF, increasing their EXP by just a little bit. They do manage to get the Dragon Knight off of it. That, at the same time, however, S.O.L does reach level 10, so they should be able to defend this without anything too drastic happening. It's really scary when you're in a map like this, or Garden of Terror, where the enemy is pushing in with an objective and they have 10 and you don't, because it's really easy for them to transition into more kills. We see Varian did decide to go taunt. EDC power slides in, gets a mosh pit on 2 of the players. Tassadar does not have an interrupt, so he's unable to do anything about this. Tassadar can't even save him with the shield, so Malfurion goes down. Dragon Knight taking a lot of damage, but obviously being safe in the Dragon Knight doesn't have too much to worry about. Will likely make it far enough back to his fort. The taunt goes out, but is unfortunately before the Dragon Knight dies, so Vala is cleansed of its effect before the Dragon Knight goes down. Even though she did take a bit of damage, was able to vault away and be safe. So good fight, good turnaround there for S.O.L. It wasn't a 5-man mosh pit, but it did what it needed to do. It captured the 2 characters that had some form of interrupt and made sure that neither of them could stop Malfurion from going down, since he was the one with the cleanse. So good play there from S.O.L, helping to even up this EXP lead by just a little bit, and then transitioning into this Bruiser camp, having 2 people take bot siege. Diablo's on the Bruiser as well, so even though S.O.L is making good calls going for these camps, NORF is doing the same and making sure that they keep up. And we've kind of reset to another neutral state again. Falstad and Thrall, just the eternal top lane. Gotta feel a little bad for Falstad. As someone who dabbles in Thrall from time to time, you really can be quite the bully against someone without solid sustain. Even though Falstad did go for hammer gains at level 4 to try to mitigate that. There's still a lot, but there's a little something sneaking in the shadows. ETC goes in on the Thrall, manages to do a good displacement, takes a lot of damage, but not quite enough. Now the rest of NORF is here. Gus does not make contact with anybody on NORF's team, and ETC pays the price. So ETC has died for Falstad's sins. Feels bad, man. They obviously, at least in my opinion, should have been a little more careful when they were going for the Thrall, when they were setting a bait. It wasn't obvious to Thrall, but as soon as they initiated and they did not get the kill they needed to get out, as the enemy team was rotating up. So good idea, just didn't quite work out for him. It wound up, looks like they're going to lose the front wall for it. Falstad jumping maybe a little too close to the fight there, but luckily for him, the wall was not quite down yet, so Diablo is unable to initiate. Big wave pushing, though. They're going to get at least the well and most likely the tower, but the rest of S.O.L is here. Varian initiates on the Vala, manages to sequence it correctly, but the ETC is still not back and is unable to get the follow-up, and so they are able to walk away. I do want to mention briefly that I thought they were picking ETC initially for the stage dive as a means of just increased global presence, since they also had Falstad, but they went for Mosh Pit instead. Makes sense, since it looks like they're going for a bit of a wombo with Mosh Pit and all of the Jaina burst damage. That's really kind of the end of the synergy, but Mosh Pit is strong enough that you don't really need like a Kale Foss landing 5,000 flame strikes during the duration of Mosh Pit to get value out of it, as we saw earlier, where they were able to pick up the Malfurion, where otherwise they would have likely not been able to. So it looks like they're actually counter pushing through top lane now. They lost the front wall, but they're going to take it themselves. NORF has sent 4 people down to take this Bruiser. My guess is that they're going to try to push this forward as well. And S.O.L is reacting to it. I guess they don't want to give away a free fort. I really feel like at this point they've already kind of committed to being near that top lane, especially since the Shrine is up there. I guess they realize that Thrall is staying to clear the lane, so they're going to try to collapse onto NORF, but they're spotted by the minions, and so NORF decides to just back out. And there's some pressure going onto the spot for it. I do not think it will go down, though, considering it's just a Bruiser camp, and Jaina has pretty good wave clear. Falstad jumping down. What is he going to try to do? I guess he's looking for a gust opportunity on Vala or Malfurion. Diablo in the midst of it. Ring of Frost comes out, but does not make contact thanks to Malfurion's ice block. And the Dragon Knight goes over to NORF while no kills go for S.O.L. So I saw what they were trying to do there. They were trying to make an opportunity. Maybe they don't know if Falstad is there, get a good gust, kill 3 people. But they weren't able to get them off of the point, and the Dragon Knight goes over to NORF. Now they're collapsing on it, trying to keep it from taking this fort, but it should still be an easy take. It's only 11 minutes into the game, but the Dragon Knight is solid enough at this point that he can kill an open fort. Will he breath it? Yes, he will. The fort goes down, but now Party Boy Corey's in a bit of trouble. Was really far away from the rest of his teammates who are over pushing the other lanes, trying to knock down the other 2 forts. But the Dragon Knight had enough health left, and even if it didn't, he is Tassadar and does have the dimensional shift to try to get away. And what was originally just a half-level EXP lead has turned into a 2-level one for NORF, doing a good job of just maintaining that advantage. But once again, we do see the Dragonite goes down. There's a dimensional shift, but ETC's Power Slide should still be available. And he goes on Thrall and Vala instead, manages to catch Thrall, but not Vala. Mosh Pit does not catch anyone. That's a 5-star NA Mosh Pit right there. I saw what he was going for. Might have been a little overzealous there. It's a 120-second cooldown that goes down. They actually did get Tassadar, though, so despite the fact that Mosh Pit didn't get anything directly done, it did look like it was enough to zone off the rest of the enemy team. It's a space-creating Mosh Pit. That's what they call it, a zoning Mosh Pit. I just want to take a real brief note and just look. I've never actually seen the boombox before, so we're going to cut away from the action. Oh, look at how cute that is. It's Lucia's little boombox at his level, I believe it's level 7? Yeah, boombox at level 7. So I just wanted to point out how adorable that is, because I'd never actually seen it before. Anyway, on a less weird note, we see that NORF is really taking advantage of this talent lead. They gave up the top fort, realizing that they were down a man, and instead just went bot and are just taking all of the siege camps. So both of them now pushing into S.O.L's base. So Falstad has come down here to clear out. I do believe that is the correct decision, considering he does have his global and can jump in if he needs to. Got a party bush over here for NORF. Looks like they know where the enemy is, but they're not quite quick enough about it. They were going to go in and try to steal the Bruiser. The Bruiser is taken, however, before they decide to move in. They weren't quite ready for it, so they just got to rely on clearing it instead, while the other members, or the members of the enemy team, go down and are just going to take care of the siege camp, end up giving away the top fort in the process, but there's not a whole lot they could have done there to defend it anyway. It was kind of on its last legs. And so we see that NORF now has the level lead has been decreased a little bit. It's now a level and a half instead of 2 levels. They're getting their own Bruiser camp here, and they have the level 16 talent lead. So S.O.L really has to be careful here, S.O.L, whichever way they prefer to be called. It's going to be hard to fight. I believe the way it's generally understood is that level 16 talent is the 3rd most powerful talent in the game, followed by Heroics and Storm talents, or preceded by, rather. So S.O.L really does need to be careful. It's only about another 3rd or another 4th that they need before they'll be on the same talent tier. And it also appears that NORF has committed to go into this top lane. They might actually try to pressure the keep. So S.O.L has to make a decision here as to whether or not they're going to defend it, because NORF looks pretty committed. They've got the Bruiser backing them up. The wave is there. I don't know. I guess at this point they're showing by now. And none of the members of S.O.L, well, Jaina is now retreating. Falstad looked like he's trying to get in a position to jump. ETC and Lucio going back as well. That was a bit delayed. They end up getting away the wall for free, which is a lot of EXP going over to NORF. But they were called quick enough to deal with the push. I'm wondering if maybe NORF kind of knew that that was going to happen, and the proper response for S.O.L might have not to have sent everyone back, maybe just sending 3 or 4 members back and still applying some pressure to this fort to try to even up the EXP. That would have been dangerous if NORF had decided to initiate, so I don't really know if there's a correct play there, just noting that there were other options. May have gone better, may have lost them the game. It's something that didn't happen, so we don't exactly know for sure. Just thought I would make mention of it. We see that NORF has once again decided they're just going to take every camp on the map, are rotating down to this Bruiser. And I want to make a quick point of this, is that I very rarely, at any level, actually see this Bruiser camp being taken. Like at the competitive level, they don't really worry about it. In Hero League, they don't worry about it. So it's really interesting to see NORF prioritize it so much. Not saying it's a bad thing, but there's initiation onto Tassadar. That is an amazing fight. Response from NORF, however, being able to take down ETC. Ring of Frost comes down, hits 2 targets, it looks like. Not sure exactly what the impact on Mouth was. Varian, however, caught away from the rest of his team, and they are starting to go down. Diablo still having the charge distance to get in on Jaina, and there we see the follow-up from Malfurion I talked about during the draft. And even with Lucio's speed boost, it wasn't enough to help them escape. So what I initially thought was a good initiation from S.O.L and being able to burst the Tassadar so quickly, unfortunately looks like they got a little out of position in the process. Speaking of out of position, Diablo appears to have charged over the wall. So I guess that both teams are guilty to some degree of having heroes not exactly where they need to be. So that is Diablo goes down. What was initially a 3-for-1 turned into a 3-for-2. It's not going to be super impactful in the sense that Diablo did have full souls and is able to revive quickly, and he will be able to push with his Dragon Knight, but at the same time that does mean he will be a lot less durable for the oncoming fights. So it's a good and a bad. Less durable, but he gets to join the party. So we'll see exactly how it pans out. Looks like they're trying to pressure the bot keep. All of the members of S.O.L are heading that way to defend it. It's already pretty low. This tower barely standing is now destroyed. This one as well, about to get blasted. Mongoose, however, is already at 50% on the Dragon Knight, so very difficult to push him to keep. And this is another reason I'm not a particularly huge fan of Dragon Knight, is just how, generally speaking, weak the Dragon Knight seems to be. It's already like 17 minutes into the game, and the objective gets, what, like a tower? I know it still has half health left, but still, ETC gets initiated on, but being ETC is able to power slide out. Looks like Lucio might have been a little overzealous there with the sound barrier, thinking they were going to go for a fight and trying to protect his team. That is going to be an 80-second cooldown. And the Dragon Knight still has 25 seconds left on its duration. Diablo charging in on Falstad. A lot of damage going down on Falstad. The combination of the rune. Oh, wow, just tons of ultimates going off. APOC. Diablo's dead. Varian getting chopped at by the Dragon Knight. Falstad also going down. Just Jaina and Lucio survive. Interesting here is that, I was going to make a mention of Lucio's talent, but I got to talk about the keep real quick going down. I guess they're going to, are they backing out? Are they going for the keep? What are they doing? I can't tell. It looks like they want at least the well, but Fall is mounted up. They do have level 20 despite the fact that they're down Diablo. So are they going for it? They might be. Jaina looks like she might have been caught, but most of the ults are down for NORF, so they don't have that to secure the kill. Lucia and Jaina should be sufficient to push them off of it, I think. Yes, it does look like NORF is going to decide to retreat without getting as much as a point of core damage on it. So I see what they were going for there. They wanted to test themselves. And apart from the camps, there's not a whole lot else they could have done on the map. So not necessarily a bad decision, but just not a whole lot gained out of it. And now S.O.L will have a chance to fight another day. Despite the fact that that was really unfortunate for them, it's still only one keep. So even though it's not good for them, it's not the end of the world. We see Tassadar sneaking around. What's he doing? He's trying to harass Jaina. At least he's not killing the boombox. Okay, so the Bruiser just goes over. I guess Tassadar's just scouting. Kind of dangerous if you ask me, considering how far away he was from the rest of his team. But maybe S.O.L thought that someone else was lurking around the corner. They decide not to initiate on him. So the thing that S.O.L really needs to focus on here is getting level 20. It should be at least a couple more minutes, if I'm counting correctly, until the next Dragon Knight spawns. So they should have a time to at least go for it. So this siege is coming up in 5, so this is something I would be thinking about, but obviously NORF is thinking about it as well. They need to be really careful here for another initiation from NORF. I see pinks. They're both squaring up. Who's gonna initiate? ETC walks for it, but it looks like NORF is going for it instead. Do they know they're here? They appear to. I guess ETC shut himself earlier. Good initiation from Varian. Malf taking a lot of punishment. Moshpit coming out on 3 members, but gets interrupted. Amazing sound barrier, helping to make a lot of the members survive, but it's still not enough for ETC. But they do manage at the very least to trade it for Malfurion. So that's a tank for a support, but it looks like they've decided to back out for now, which is, I think, a smart decision. I want to point out real quickly that Tassadar at level 20 took the new improved Twilight Archon after Tassadar's rework makes it have indefinite duration as long as he's attacking someone. So trying to get away from the position so that they don't have to deal with a permanently Archon Tassadar. Wise decision, I think. Not a whole lot they could really gain from it, especially considering it was only a 1-for-1 trade, and they almost have level 20. Now they have it. Let's see if what storm talents come out. So we have the reduced cooldown for Lucio's sound barrier, Bossa Nova, which makes it not last as long, makes it cool down quicker. So it's a bit of a trade-off there. Epic Mount, not at all surprised to see from Falstad, trying to increase his global presence. Arcane Power, actually, for Jaina instead of Ice Block. That's really interesting. I usually see the Ice Blocks for Jaina, especially against a team like something with Diablo, which is really hard to kite regularly, but it looks like Jaina is determined to take that additional ability power and try to burst someone down even faster. Glory to the Alliance for Varian. I think that's a smart pick, works really well with Lucio, and it's generally considered one of Varian's stronger ones. I also want to note, I actually didn't notice this earlier, they went with Banner of Dalaran instead of Ironforge. Ironforge, the most popular one due to the increased survivability it gives. Oh, speaking of increased survivability, Falstad's going to need some right now. Decides to jump in, I guess going for an interrupt or just trying to get a nice gust, but ends up out of position in the process and dies for basically nothing. I don't know exactly what the thought process was there. If he thought there weren't as many people there as there were, or vice versa. So they're going to try to fight this 4v5. Sound Barrier comes out, as does Ring of Frost, burning a lot of ultimates, almost killing the Thrall! Oh, no, they don't quite get it. Storm Shield comes out from Malfurion, and Varian ends up going down, so now it's a 3v5, and Dragon Knight is available with 2 members of S.O.L dead, one for 40 seconds and one for 60. This could very well be game. I actually thought for a second there that S.O.L might be able to pull it out, even though it was a 4v5. They were managed to put a lot of pressure on the Thrall, but the combination of Thrall's inherent self-sustain as well as the Storm Shield coming out from Malfurion was enough to keep him alive, and we now see all 5 members of NORF now pressuring the core. Tassadar uses Archon, ETC taking a lot of damage, but is able to get away. Once again, Lucio might have burned his ult a little too early, but at the same time, it probably did not matter. Even if they just stood there, it looks like NORF has enough damage to take out this core. ETC going for the mosh pit, catches 1-2 members. Diablo as well gets caught up in it, but despite the nice desperation mosh pit at the end there, it is not enough to prevent the damage, and the game and series goes over to NORF. So congratulations to them. They had a really clear plan with the Vala composition. I was a little suspect of it at first just because I'm not a particularly huge fan of running the composition. I see the pros do it and it looks awesome, but I usually don't have as good a time when I try it myself. But they managed to do it themselves using Tassadar and Malf to keep them alive. The good combinations from Thrall and Diablo ult synergy, and just generally a good job of looking for those picks, using Diablo the way he's meant to be used, and managing to get just that one kill usually. Most of the time you noticed it wasn't a complete team wipe to begin with. They just focused on getting one kill while keeping everyone else alive, and when it was a 5v4, they knew they could take it from there. So good job to both teams. Once again, this was NORF versus S.O.L. Chair League Division 3. Thank you all for joining me. I have been your host, Verdestrom. I will be back tomorrow at, I believe, 7:40 PT, 9:40 Central Time. I think that's how time zones work, to cast another Division 3 game, so feel free to join me then. If you have something else to do, then do that instead. Either way, it's been good having you, and I'll see you next time.